Guess we're gonna need a new one.
With his beaver cap and his checkered tie, let's see what he has to say. What's he got for us this time? They're probably Blu-ray.
Aficionados, Chris.
It's a guilty pleasure.
Aficionados, Chris.
It's a comfort measure.
Aficionados,
Shine the lights, shoot the camera, smile for the world in panorama. He likes to impersonate Gottfried.
Hey everybody, Aficionados Chris here, and today we're going to be doing a book review. I'm sure it's safe to say a lot of you out there are familiar with fellow YouTube film critic Chris Stuckman. In fact, I actually interviewed Chris Stuckman on my podcast Aficionados Internet Radio quite some time ago, but he's gone one step beyond for a lot of us YouTube critics out there. He has put out his very first book. And obviously, considering the subject matter on his channel, it's a film book. That's right, we're going to be talking about Chris Stuckman's book debut, The Film Buff's Bucket List, the 50 movies of the 2000s to see before you die. Now, much like Chris Stuckman's reviews, which are relatively short in nature, the book is very similar. It's only about 100 or 104 pages, somewhere around there, and catalogs a relatively low number if you consider other film books out there with only 50 movies covering the 2000s. And that's one thing I gotta bring up, is that the title is or at least the subtitle is a little misleading, is that most would probably assume with a book like this, with a suggestion like that it only covers a whole decade, so 2000 to 2010. Chris Stuckman's actually gone a little further than that. He has it go all the way up to, well, essentially present, with some entries like Mad Max Fury Road and Star Wars Episode 7 being included in here. Now, as much as I really like those movies and do think perhaps in the distant future they will be heavily regarded classic films, I mean, obviously with Star Wars, and perhaps same with Fury Road, considering the impact of the franchise. I personally believe that films need to have a lot of time to see where they stand as to whether or not they're still considered good films, or even if they hit classic or contemporary classic or even cult classic stage about 5 or 10 years from now. And I can see where he's coming from with adding at least those two films in his list, is that he sees the potential with them, and I do agree. I think they're phenomenal films for what they are, especially Mad Max Fury Road for the action genre and just all the stunt work and the action that they did in that film. There's a lot of potential there to see it becoming a highly acclaimed classic for years to come. So maybe he's just thinking ahead. I'll give him that for adding those. I guess it's forgiven, I'd say, for being a little premature. Another thing I should mention is that for a book like this, which, if I'm going to be honest, there is not too much going on here, because like I said, much like his reviews, they're very short. Basically, they're one-page reviews for each film. A couple examples I can give you is I was very happy to see one of my all-time favorite films, Old Boy by Park Chan-wook, included in here. Basically, most reviews are only about 3 to 5 paragraphs apiece. Most of them are straight to the point, and he's got some reviews that you'd basically expect from a Chris Stuckman book. He goes very in-depth with Nicholas Winding reference Drive, which is a great film. And then he has one that is obvious, and I personally don't agree with in the inclusion of it, which would be M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. But if you're a Stuckman fan, that's not surprising that Signs is included in this book. It's basically his favorite movie. I mean, Stuckman clearly sees something in it that I don't, so I can't really complain much. But outside of that, I think this is a very good starter book. In fact, that's really what I think this works best as. It's not just, a nice addition to a film guide or film book collection, because it's certainly a nice fit with my Leonard Maltin books and my other film history and film director books that I collect extensively. It's nice to have kind of an underdog of sorts, an internet reviewer, a YouTube reviewer no less, who put out a book and have it included on my shelf with some of the greats in film criticism. But I think its strongest asset is that it's a very good starter kit, like a Cliff Notes of sorts for other young aspiring film critics out there, because much like myself, Chris Stuckman does have a lot of young aspiring fans who want to take film more seriously, want to potentially get into film criticism, and they don't know where to start. I think this is a very good starter kit for more contemporary films, I'd say. 2000s, it's not that old. So it's a good recommendation guide of some of what he would consider the higher tier films out there. And this is where the most unique thing about the book comes in. Where the bucket list title comes from, he means that literally. Actually, near the end of the book, pretty much the last page, what he's done is he's taken all the films that he has suggested, like, for example, American Psycho. He's listed them all with check boxes on the left side, and 5 stars on the right. So essentially, much like the title suggests, he wants you to check out these films, check them off once you've seen them, and then rank them out of the 5 stars as what you thought of that film. So I guess fill them in or circle them or what have you. I think that's a very unique touch to the film book, film guide genre of sorts. I think it basically makes it interactive, kind of like, not to be insulting, but kind of like a kid's book. But like I said, it is basically aimed at young readers, so I think it's a good idea. So outside of that, there's not much else I can say outside of, if you're a fan of Chris Stuckman, obviously check it out. If you're an aspiring film critic, or you just really want to get into the appreciation of movies, I think this is a good tryout book. I mean, it's only $10. That's how much I spent on it. I think it's still $10 right now. So for what you get Chris Stuckman's book debut. That alone is something I believe worth supporting. My hope is that this is just the first of many books that Stuckman will put out. And considering what he does on his channel, one thing I'd really like to see is maybe a book on recommended anime titles. I know he really likes anime, and well, as do I, so I think it would be really great to see anime recommendation books from him. So that's really all I have to say about Chris Stuckman's The Film Buff's Bucket List. I hope you enjoyed the video, and please have a wonderful day. Goodbye.